So Tim Walz has responded to JD Vance and MAGA's criticism of his military record, and as expected, Tim Walz took the high road, proving again that both sides are not the same. It really gets under my skin when people says that we are, because folks, we carry ourselves in a completely different manner. We don't go in for the gimmicks and the stage props that MAGA does. When they come out acting as though they care about something, it's just there to be a stage prop for them. It's just there to be a talking point, a cliche that they can run on. They actually don't care about any of the things they're saying. And this didn't just start with MAGA. The Republican Party has always talked about how they're the party of the military, how they're the party that respects veterans. And it didn't matter how many times they cut benefits for veterans. It didn't matter how many times they made life harder on the military. It didn't matter if they sent the military into unjust wars. They would still say they were the party about the military. But when John Kerry, a Vietnam vet who served his country proudly and who was standing there with shrapnel in his legs, they found a way to demonize him back then 20 years ago. And here we are 20 years later, and MAGA is still taking up that act of like, hey, we love the military unless you served your country on the Democratic side, unless you're running against us, and then we will absolutely trash your military service. So that tells me they don't actually have respect to the military, and it's really a slap in the face to all of our men and women in uniform. It truly is. But Tim Walz gets around to addressing this controversy of them attacking his record and calling stolen valor, which is so ridiculous coming from the fact that Captain Bone Spurs is their front runner. But Tim Walz handled it gracefully, and I love what he says at the end of this clip.
Are even attacking me for my record of service. And I just want to say, I'm proud to serve my country, and I always will be. With my dad's encouragement, a guy who served in the Army during the Korean War, I signed up for the Army National Guard 2 days after my 17th birthday. I served for the next 24 years for the same reason all my brothers and sisters in uniform do. We love this country. Then in 2005, I felt the call of duty again, this time of being service to my country in the halls of Congress. My students inspired me to run for that office, and I was proud to make it to Washington. I was a member of the Veterans Affairs Committee and a champion of our men and women in uniform. I'm going to say it again as clearly as I can. I am damn proud of my service to this country. And I firmly believe you should never denigrate another person's service record. To anyone brave enough to put on that uniform for our great country, including my opponent, I just have a few simple words. Thank you for your service and sacrifice.
You really got to hand it to Tim Walz on this one for taking the high road and saying what he said, because they insulted his military service, something he's very proud of, and something that he's been doing since he was 17 years old, is taking pride in working for this country. And I would not have blamed him one bit if he had have just went off on a rant and just ripped them a new ass and cussed them for everything they were worth. No one really could have blamed him, but he took the high road and thanked JD Vance for his service. And that tells you everything you need to know about the two sides and how they are. Now, I'm sure MAGA will continue to double down on these things, because once they get a talking point, they won't let go of it. Once that talking point gets debunked, they won't let go of it, because they don't have to let go of it. In MAGA's world, anything they say is true, and if those things gets debunked, well, then that's just the fake news. You know, that's the evil deep state trying to silence them and take away their right to say it. We're not trying to take away their right to free speech. We're holding them accountable for their speech, and that's something they can't wrap their little minds around. And so we're always going to be having this argument with them as long as they're around. And whether, you know, MAGA fades away and some new form of the Republican Party comes in, I guarantee you 20 years from now, if there's someone on our side of the aisle running and they've got a military record, Republicans will dig back into this bag of tricks and they will yank it out, and they will start talking about how that person, you know, had stolen valor. Meanwhile, they've got Captain Bone Spurs as their running mate, the guy who has insulted veterans, insulted prisoners of war. And so, folks, that's one point I want to bring across. Back when John McCain was running, I didn't agree with his politics, and I wasn't going to vote for him regardless. It wasn't going to happen. I remember reading several articles from several different left-leaning publications that was saying that John McCain getting captured in Vietnam, they were saying that a lot of it was his fault, that he made mistakes, that he put himself in harm's way when he shouldn't have. And I said back then, I am not going to criticize that man for that. I'm not. Because I don't know what I would have done if I was in his shoes. I've never been in his shoes. I've never served my country. So let's not go there. I said that then. I feel the same way now. There's no reason to ever go after someone's military record. I just think it's the lowest of low, in my opinion. But MAGA loves these stage props. They love to hold on to things, and they love to act like they're the party of the working man, the party of the working class. But like Tim Walz so brilliantly points out right here, they're not. Take a look.
So-called right-to-work laws that deprive us of the right to be able to form unions, fund what we need. Trump has said he supports right to work 100%. I saw our friend Sean Fain at the UAW had a name for that. He called him a scab, just to be clear. That's not name-calling. It's an observation and fact, just to be clear. So, you know, you can tell a lot about people in their personal lives. He spent a decade stiffing service workers from dishwashers, waiters, and carpenters on his own properties to enrich himself. As president, he cut overtime benefits for millions of workers, and he opposed any effort to raise the minimum wage. That's all you need to know. You don't have to ask twice. We know who they are.
Yeah, they don't care about veterans, and they do not care about working class people. The only thing they do is find a way to exploit them and find a way to use them to their advantage. And I watch people in my part of the world sit back and continue to support Trump, thinking he's going to make their lives better. He didn't do it the first time. He's not going to do it if he's reelected. It's not going to happen, but he will tell them things are better, and they will fall for it. And that's what's so frustrating when you're trying to get through to people and help them to understand that they're being duped. I don't necessarily think they want you to tell them that they're being duped. I feel like they're going to resent us more for pointing it out, but we can't stop pointing it out. We have to keep calling this stuff out for what it is. And like Tim Walz says in this last clip I'm going to show you, we can't just hope to win, folks. We have to make a plan, and we have to execute it. Take a look.
And I also think you've heard me say this. Hope is the most powerful word in the English language. It was so powerful for when my wife and I first had our first child, we named our daughter Hope. But my wife often reminds me, hope is a great word and a beautiful name, but it's not a damn plan. We can't hope that we defeat Donald Trump. We can't hope that we can collectively bargain. We can't hope we protect Social Security. We can't hope that we address climate change. You don't hope to win. You plan, prepare, and work to win.
With all due respect to Barack Obama, with the utmost respect to Barack Obama, I'm so glad that Tim Walz said we can't just hope to do these things, we have to do them. Because we are seeing Barack Obama level energy around Kamala Harris right now. And back then, during that Barack Obama energy in 2008, there was people saying, he can keep that hope, he can keep that change. Words like that really doesn't resonate with MAGA because they're so doom and gloom. They've been taught to be doom and gloom. They were doom and gloom long before Trump came along and empowered them to be even more so doom and gloom. But words like that doesn't matter to them. When you say you're going to make America joyful again, what's there to be happy about? That's their attitude. So I'm glad that Tim Walz said it's not just about hoping, it's about making it happen. And that's what we have to do, folks. We can't sit back and hope for the best. We have to make the best happen, and we can, because we're reasonable people who don't buy into the fear and the propaganda. We're reasonable people who believes in moving this country forward for everyone and not just those that looks and sounds like us. So let's stay focused, and let's always be hopeful that we'll have a better world out there, but let's make sure that we make that hope happen. You can't just hope for it, folks. You got to make it happen come November.